So Randy Pitchford, he's the CEO of the company making Borderlands 4. Their name, I forget their name now. Gearbox. I think he's the CEO of Gearbox. And he says real fans would pay $80 for Borderlands. Now, we need some context, because when you read articles and stuff, it's just a snippet of what they say, right? And in today's world of journalism, you can't ever tell if they're just, spinning it to get a rise out of people and get more reads, more views, whatever. Okay? So we're going to go to his actual tweet, okay? This is the tweet he made that caused all this ruckus. And this is everywhere. I'm seeing stories all over the internet about it, okay? So this is what he said. Well, first, let's get some context, because it's not going to make sense right here. So he made a post. He reposted Nintendo's post about Gearbox and Borderlands 4 coming to the Switch 2, right? So it says, I am so very excited for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I'm even more excited to bring Borderlands 4 to this incredible and magical machine. So that was his original post that started this whole firestorm, okay? Now, what he said in a reply to a person is what kicked up the flames, okay? So this guy right here, Diamond YJ Orange Thinger, the treasured treacher. Who knows? But this guy right here, he said, Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take the risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increase of the price tag. You are the CEO. You have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher. So that was the guy's reply to his original post. Now, this is what caused the problem. He replied to that person with this. A, not my call. B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had a Starfight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991. Starflight, sorry. When I was just out of high school working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. Okay, and that is the full context. This is everything. I want to give you the whole picture. Okay, and so now that is being clipped up and is being posted all over the internet, on articles, on everything. This guy says, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way. Okay, so here's what I think. All right, let me just give you my thoughts on this. All right, so first off, I'm going to say something that might sound bad on the onset, okay? His general premise, his point, the deep underlying point that he's making is true. The truth is that you will find money for the things that you really care about. Almost always. Unless you are just extremely impoverished and poor, you're almost always going to move money around for the things you actually care about, okay? That is true. That's a true concept in adult life. But here's the problem. His error is that he assumes that video games, you should move your stuff around in order to buy an $80 game. He assumes that that's a true thing. Probably because he's fairly wealthy and he can move around just to buy a video game. Luxury goods to him are just common things. But to everyday people who work for a living and try to make money, you probably could move around money enough to buy an $80 game if you really wanted it. But you shouldn't have to, is the thing. Because it's a lot harder for someone working at Walmart or a fast food place or a single mother with 2 jobs or a dad with 2 jobs trying to make ends meet. It's a lot harder for those people to find $80 laying around to buy your game than it is for a big CEO of a company to purchase an $80 game. So the problem is that what he's saying is not false. It's just a really jerky thing to say. Is the problem. It's tone deaf, I guess, is what you'd call it. And not to mention, it's really dumb to say this as a CEO of a company. Like, this is like a PR nightmare for Gearbox. Because when you are in a position like that, your job is to keep the customers as happy as possible, because they're the people that spend the money on the game. If you tell them all that they're a bunch of brokies and that they need to just find the money to buy your game, no matter what it costs, guess what they're going to do? They're going to throw up a middle finger, and they're not going to buy your game, and they're going to go play one of the hundreds and hundreds of other games that are releasing this year. Now, I'm a Borderlands fan, and I probably will buy Borderlands, not for Switch 2. I'm not going to buy it on the Switch 2, but I probably will buy Borderlands because it has couch co-op. Me and my wife have played almost all the Borderlands together. I'll probably buy Borderlands and play it, just not on the Switch 2. But there's going to be a lot of people who don't have the money or don't want or don't really care about Borderlands and are kind of casual players, and stuff like this turns those people off. If you don't really care about the game and it's something interesting, maybe the trailer looks good, but you're on the fence, and then he says something like this, which way do you think you're going to start leaning when you hear someone in that position with that much privilege in their life, that much money, and they say something like that, and you're maybe 30, 35 years old, trying to make ends meet, and to feed your kids, feed your family, and the economy is tough, and what you hear is no matter what the game costs, you're not a real fan if you don't buy it. If you don't spend $80, then you're not a real fan. Probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard a high-level executive say in the gaming industry. It's wrong of him to take advantage of fans like that. So here's the thing. As far as taking advantage goes, it's hard to say exactly what they're doing because he's probably not wrong that it's not really his call. I mean, he is not in full control of what the game will cost. Not complete control of what the game will cost, right? So he's probably true. It's probably true that it's not his call, and what it's going to cost is what Nintendo is going to impose on it. Now, it's his choice to bring it to Switch 2, so I mean he has control of that, I guess. But the other thing about and this is just about game prices in general. Let's just talk about game prices in general, because I remember when games were $50. Like the high end, like the standard MSRP or whatever was $50. Then it went to $60. Now it's $70 for most games. And now we're staring down the barrel of $80. So there's a rising cost of games. Here's the thing about the whole taking advantage argument, though. It's hard to say if that's true or not. The reason is that in order to know if they're taking advantage of customers, we would have to know what their costs and expenses are and what the game is costing to make. So it's really hard to say, because if their cost is really high, then they may not be taking advantage. They may actually need to make $80 per game in order to break even or make a profit. Now, there's probably some poor decision making that led to that point. But it's hard to say if they're taking advantage of the customers. Although I will say, to kind of play devil's advocate to that, I will say this. There are a wealth of games. Elden Ring. Shadow of the Erdtree was even lower. Elden Ring, Expedition 33. Really high quality, big name games. They launched and they cost Baldur's Gate 3. They launched and they cost $60. Expedition 33 is $40. So you obviously can make a really good game for $70. So the counterpoint to that is what is causing these people to have to raise prices when these other games are coming out that are most of the time even better than the game these people are making, and yet they're able to sell it for a more reasonable price. So that calls it into question a little bit. But it's an interesting conversation. either way, this guy's pretty stupid, and I wouldn't be surprised if Borderlands 4 kind of tanks because of a lot of this drama, and it's his fault. I mean, you say something like that when you're in that kind of position, and you kind of deserve for your company to suck for a while, which makes me sad because I am a Borderlands fan, but I can't defend that statement.